Last year, when W5 looked into the conditions that tenants of Toronto community housing were living in, we visited Stan Brodzinski, who is legally blind and living on a disability pension.
And the cockroaches, well, they end up in my cup. That's when I noticed them. That's where I keep all my stored dry goods.
His apartment was a mess. However, days after our program aired, Toronto Housing paid him a long overdue visit.
Stan, since we were last here, what's happened?
Well, they came in and they reassured me that everything would be taken care of and the place would be decrittered.
The critters are gone?
They were gone to a point, but they didn't really do what they had to do to get rid of the problem. They didn't seal up some of the openings that the cockroaches were coming in. They didn't seal up the electrical outlets like they were supposed to.
You've heard of the man called Dirty George who was found in his apartment?
Yes, and people were telling me that he had been there for a long time before anyone found him.
Nobody from Toronto Housing checks on those who have no one?
I never had anybody check on me.
Take a look at these cupboards.
We also visited Connie Harrison.
Oh my God! Holy.
Oh, I guess she didn't.
That's a little scary.
Her place was infested with cockroaches. She too got a visit soon after we were there.
What's happened since then?
Well, they did do a spraying and they put in new cupboards.
In your apartment?
Yes, they did. And in this case, they went to rip out all this old cupboards, or these new cupboards. They ripped them out to see what was behind. And the workers were attacked with insects, horribly attacked to the point where they had to cease work. And they're now just starting to trickle back in because there's other unsealed spots.
A year has passed since we were last here. We've gone to a number of apartments, we've spoken to a number of tenants, and it appears the problems with cockroaches, mice, bed bugs is still very serious in Toronto community housing. What's going on with that?
That there are still some issues, I'm sure there are, in the portfolio. We haven't claimed that we've eliminated all of them. What we do feel proud of, that we have been able to really, in a sense, break the back of the biggest part of the problem. We've done a lot of big repairs to buildings, the structural integrity of buildings, making sure that they're going to stand up for the next 50 years.
In the past year, Toronto Community Housing has received some money from the Ontario government and the city, with promises of more money from the federal government to come. But it's a drop in the bucket when faced with a daunting $200 million in outstanding repair bills. But it's not the state of disrepair or even the bugs that bother Connie the most. It's the sense of isolation.
A lot of people in these buildings with serious mental health problems. Does anybody check in on them to see if they're okay? Does anybody just knock on the door?
You know what? I wish I knew, because maybe if they were actually checking up on people, people would actually be alive. There's been so many deaths in all the buildings, suicides, people dying from neglect, old people wasting away.
In fact, W5 has obtained internal security documents from Toronto Community Housing that show that in the past 3 years, 18 tenants have killed themselves, and another 31 tried but were unsuccessful.
What is the level of desperation here?
Horrible, horrible. It's like being homeless, one step above homeless. There is nothing in these buildings for people who were elderly, sick, disabled, but a dead-end road. They die. Their pets end up at the Humane Society. Nobody asks any questions.
You knew the man referred to as Dirty George. What can you tell me about him?
He was a person who needed a lot of supports. And basically around here, if you were not, I guess, intelligent enough or articulate enough to make your needs known, forget it, you're gone, you're lost.
Can I please pour my holy water on the place where he rests in peace? Jesus Christ, God have mercy on our soul, for we are sin. Dear George, I bless you. And on the bed you laid and passed away on, May God rest in peace. You're in better hands. God loves everybody. He would never, ever forget you.
The Toronto Community Housing Corporation is Canada's biggest landlord. At its head office, it proudly displays a banner, "Great people building great neighborhoods." Neighborhoods like these. The buildings dot the skyline of Toronto, $6 billion worth of real estate, consisting of high-rises, townhouses, and even single-family homes. But look closely, and this is the harsh reality. Gaping holes, exposed wiring, ceilings that are collapsing, and furniture and trash that continues to pile up. In fact, some buildings are in such a state of disrepair that Toronto Housing says it doesn't make financial sense to keep repairing them, and it now wants to sell them. But Toronto Community Housing tenants have something even more ominous to worry about: being caught in the crossfire of gang wars. This footage was captured by surveillance cameras in March of 2008 at a townhouse complex in Lawrence Heights, otherwise known as the Jungle. 5 men were wounded and an 18-year-old was killed. Then, a year later, surveillance cameras capture another shooting, this time in the middle of the day. Notice how the gunmen are able to pull open what should have been a secure door. This is where the latest shooting took place. No one was killed, but W5 has obtained internal security documents that paint a frightening picture of what has gone on in Toronto community housing buildings over the past 3 years. 88 attempted murders and 39 murders. In fact, if Toronto community housing were its own city, it would have the highest murder rate in all of Canada.
Yeah, can I get police and ambulance?
Then there are the assaults, like this one captured on a cell phone last year. In the past 3 years, those same internal security documents reveal 543 assaults, 63 sexual assaults, and 80 armed robberies. We asked Derek Ballantyne, the man in charge of Toronto Community Housing, about all those crimes taking place right in his buildings.
Our ability is not to make crime disappear. That is a Toronto Police Services responsibility. Our ability is to detect, as we do with our own staff, to intervene in dealing with some of the day-to-day issues in the community, with being able to ensure that proper building security systems are in place, camera systems are in place.
We asked a resident of Toronto Housing about those security measures. He says he's fearful for his safety and asked not to use his name.
One of the things that Toronto Housing tells us is that there's security around and that there are secure doors that strangers can't walk in. Now, that's a secure door, right?
Absolutely. And allow me to show you how easily somebody can just walk in. This is the panel that this is a keyless entry. I will not touch this key. And here's how secure this door is.
Not secure at all. In fact, the lock is completely missing.
So we've just come through the not secure door.
That's correct.
And this is quite interesting up here.
Absolutely. Actually, there's an interesting part because about 5 months ago, there was a shooting right here at this door.
What is that up there?
Now, up there, that's where a security camera is supposed to be.
And the security camera's gone, but you can see the wire up there.
Absolutely. You can even see where it used to be.
Yeah. We went to an apartment building where someone opened up with a shotgun several months ago. There was no security on the door, no security lock. The security camera was gone.
Well, if you would give me the address of that building, I would be happy to visit it, because that is not what should happen. In our own protocols, any sort of building locked, any sort of building entry mechanism is tested and should be in good working order. And if it is broken, as often happens, we repair it within a very strict timeline.
It's been well over 2.5 years that security door has never worked. So it's not something that I'm bringing to your attention that's happened yesterday.
Just through the doors, a surprising revelation.
Where are we going to here?
Well, right in here, the hall was just painted recently. They had plenty of paint to paint that.
Oh, That's true.
Because this, if you can still smell the paint
Yes.
right now.
So this has just been painted.
Just painted, no more than a week, about a week ago. I don't care what paint, nobody cares what paint it would have been. Just paint it.
Maintenance aside, there are some pretty troubling safety issues.
Every one of these components area is supposed to have a fire extinguisher with a working hose, and it's missing a fire extinguisher. And you cannot blame somebody being stealing it or somebody took it, because it's locked.
For Toronto lawyer Sarah Chartel, the breakdown in security is another example, in her opinion, of how Toronto housing is failing to meet even the most basic needs of its tenants.
These are buildings owned by the city. They absolutely know what's going on. They absolutely do nothing. We see videotapes on the news of thugs coming in and shooting people where they can just open the door and they shoot people.
When you look at Toronto community housing, you see the number of murders every year, the incredible number of assaults with weapons, the incredible number of robberies. It's a scary, scary place to live.
Yes, it is. They're scary buildings. They're terrifying buildings. These places are unsafe. You are safer outside the building than inside the building.
Back at 200 Wellesley, where George Hallam lived and died in squalor, residents like John Plew continue to live with filth and infestation.
This is home, yes. And it's a pigsty. We deserve something better than this.